Are you curious about the future of energy and how we might overcome challenges like high energy costs and energy security here in the Philippines? What if the answer lies not just on Earth, but in space itself? I'm Patricia Mirasol, a multimedia producer at BusinessWorld. In this B-side episode, I discuss renewable energy in space with Charleston Dale M. Ambatali, Assistant Professor of UP Diliman's Electrical and Electronics Engineering Institute, and Wynn Dunn Gill D. Improso, Supervising Science Research Specialist of the Philippine Space Agency's Interdisciplinary Space Missions Development Division.
Good afternoon, Mr. Improso and Mr. Ambatali. Today we will be talking about how to harness renewable energy from space. But first, let's start with the basics. How does one collect solar energy in space and then transmit it back to Earth?
To collect energy from space, it's the same as how we collect it in Earth, actually. So just solar panels. And the advantage if we collect them in space is that there's almost 24/7 you can collect energy all the time because you can always point at the sun. But it's just solar panels, but the solar panels that we send to space should be what we call space grade solar panels, because the conditions in space are quite different compared to the conditions in Earth. But it's still the same concept, just they just use different materials. Now, for the second part of how to transmit it back to Earth, we transmit it wirelessly via electromagnetic waves. So the ones that we use for communications, possibly what you're using right now for Wi-Fi. So you have a more focused energy beam being transferred from space to Earth, or we can also use laser. So those are the two different methods that are being considered for transmission. And well, laser is more dangerous, so that's why we're pivoting more towards the use of microwave frequency, as we call it.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ambatali. And can you mention some international efforts and initiatives being done in SBSP or space-based solar power?
Yes, the more prominent, successful recent experiment is Caltech's. I forgot the name. So California Institute of Technology, they have a solar power satellite demonstration. Okay. So when you say demonstration, it's just a small satellite that is going to send power from space to Earth. It's not yet a fully functional power plant, but they did an experiment sending power from space, I think around 5 kilowatts, and then it came back to Earth around maybe just a few watts. So it's very inefficient at the moment, but they were able to light up an LED strip from space without the LED connected to any socket. So they were able to demonstrate that they can transfer energy from space to Earth. And the next prominent one is called the Cassiopeia project. It's a different concept, but it is done by the European Space Agency. And the last one that I know is a project in Japan, also a demonstration satellite only, and they call it Ohisama, which is Japanese for the sun. So that's another satellite demonstration.
It seems that there are a lot of capability gaps that still need to address before countries can start deploying these types of systems as early as the year 2050. So can we talk a little bit about these capability gaps, Mr. Improso?
Yeah, actually, I've been reading about this a lot. So because when you want to convert the power from outer space to the Earth, you want to make it competitive with our own generation here on the ground. So I think that some of the factors, actually, from a NASA study that I read, the first one, I think the biggest one would be the launch cost, the launch of materials from here on Earth to space, because it's not just a singular launching of the whole system, but you want to send it parts by parts or modular in a sense. Also, when you do maintenance on the parts and the materials, because Dr. Ambatali said earlier that in space is really harsh, and so the materials may degrade a bit faster than when they're on Earth. So it's a constant resupply mission, kumbaga. The next would be the second factor that I read about is the hardware lifetimes. Again, this connects to the durability of the materials in space. Again, others would be manufacturing scale, and another one cost that is actually a little bit, if I could say, underrated would be because we are putting a lot of materials in space. And when you put materials in space, you have to think about how you are going to remove them once their lifetime is done. Because when you're, for example, you send a satellite or you send a space infrastructure, after its lifetime, it's going to be garbage or junk. Space, we call it space debris, and it's going to affect your future plans in space again. So that it actually adds quite a bit of cost because you have to plan how to remove it, and it's not really cheap to bring things from space down to the Earth.
The Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, published an article on its website in July 2023 about Dr. Ambatali's study on space-based solar power satellites. And JICA described the study as the future of renewable energy. What other policy and economic implications would we need to address to bring this future closer to the present?
Okay. So I think I can answer that. I guess when we talk about policy, it's kind of complicated. For one, because we're transferring energy wirelessly, exposure to the environment is inevitable. And when we use high power electromagnetic wave in the frequency that we use Wi-Fi for, that's the same as using a microwave. So any water that comes in contact with the wave will be boiled, or not boiled, it will heat up at least. So there has to be a way to control the beam such that you will avoid any organic or any life or any material actually that goes in between the satellite and the ground receiver. So environmental policies must be addressed. That's one. The manufacturing and maintenance of a ground receiving station, because when we're talking about a receiving station, we our space-based solar power satellite, people would probably think that, okay, I have a receiver on my house, and then I just get energy from space. No, that's not it. So you have a big like a solar farm on the Earth also that will receive the energy and will connect to the grid. So it's not everyone will be, not all households will have an antenna that will connect to the satellite. It's more like there will be a power plant on Earth that would receive the energy and connect it to the grid. So there's also regulations, right-of-way problems when you construct something as big as that. Yeah. So if we're the good thing about a space-based solar power satellite is that if they can serve many countries at the same time, and if we're able to cooperate with, say, the ASEAN region, then we'll make our own ASEAN satellite with our own ground stations, but we can all at the same time get energy from the same satellite. So but as a country, not necessarily each individual household.
I like the idea of having an ASEAN satellite so that we can all get energy from the same satellite.
Yes.
That would be very beneficial for us. Okay, so it seems to me that harnessing SBSP is very it's very intensive when it comes to resources. But what are the benefits of it on the flip side? Like, for instance, if the Philippines were to harness this type of energy, how would it contribute to the country's growth?
generally, when people think of space-based solar power, it's more environment friendly. That's in general. But when we think about our country's situation, being an archipelago and all of that, it's difficult to electrify islands and connect them to one main grid. So there are islands who support their own electric grid, not connected to the mainland. But if we're able to, say, have a space-based solar power satellite, then we can electrify more places with ease compared to what we have right now. And even the technology to develop the space-based solar power, for example, the wireless power transfer technology, the long-range wireless power transfer technology, if we're able to develop that, then it doesn't have to start on the satellite. It could be a ground-based transfer of power. So instead of connecting islands with wires, we can connect them wirelessly. So we could have a more unified electrical grid for the Philippines. If there's a power failure or a fault somewhere in Mindanao, then maybe power from Luzon can reach Mindanao through this, if we install these systems. But first, we need to make them economical.
How about you, Mr. Improso?
So yeah, actually, to add to that, what Dr. Ambatali said. So there are a lot of, as of the moment, the technology needed to make it competitive. There's a lot of gaps, and that's actually an opportunity for the Philippines to start on, for example. So we can actually, if we can proliferate or we can like distribute this idea to show others that, hey, this can be a very good thing for the country, then we can start filling in the technological gaps. And one thing is that this technology that is used for the SBSP is not just for SBSP. There are a lot of applications for this one. So one thing that Dr. Batali said was the wireless power transfer. That's one. And of course, the infrastructure you need for the satellite building will also benefit for this one from the development of this one, because you need a lot of things together, and when you have that, it benefits everything in the space ecosystem.
It was also mentioned earlier that in case of a power failure in one part of the country, another part of the country could step in to reach that part that had a power failure. So does this mean that space-based solar power can also help improve our energy security?
Yes, that's definitely true. So it would give resilience to our electric grids. So as from my experience, in Metro Manila, the electricity is very resilient. Electric grid is quite resilient. But when you move out of it, let's say from my hometown in Ilagan City, Isabela, just a small rain would just take it out. So it was always a point of frustration when I was a child. So when I came to Manila, like, it's raining so hard, maybe there won't be power soon. Never happens. It doesn't happen that much.
Mr. Improso?
To add to that, it's just due to the well, in the future, if we are able to make this technology really cheap, or not really cheap, but cheaper than what it is right now. The idea of the technology is that it's able to be flexible, because you need ground stations, and to make it more efficient, you need multiple ground stations to receive the energy, for example. So it can make the distribution much more not centered in one place, but much more distributed in the country. So that's one thing.
That's awesome. So it seems that economic progress will also benefit from this type of energy distribution. All right. Okay. And how can the country attract more investments in space technology and renewable energy? I mean, how can we get the businessmen on board when it comes to these types of alternative energies?
I think it's the director of that business bureau, Mr. Fernando De Villa. We call him Sir Chino. Yeah, so he mentioned to me about stimulating the demand for space technology products. I think to attract business interest to this technology, we have to start not in space but start here on Earth. So, for example, their products is more satellite images from space, so looking towards the Earth and the data that we can gather from there. If we're able to apply the same mindset to, say, space-based solar power, like making the wireless power transfer technology more mature, we can make a lot of business models out of it, business cases that can stimulate the economy and add, and it feels like a feedback loop. That if once we stimulate the economy, we get more money to go back to research, and this research will push towards the realization of this big thing, which is our goal, the space-based solar power.
We just need to kickstart this feedback loop.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Just
Yeah.
to
Yes,
clarify,
please.
sorry. So Sir Chino is actually the chief of the division.
Chief.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
sorry.
the division chief leading that. And yeah, to give one more a project perhaps. So in the past, we had this project called Industrious, where we uh, enhance the local upstream. So this one is for upstream space technology sector in the development of satellites. So we had this project dati. Although currently, I think meron din silang plans and to have more engagement.
Does the Philippine Space Agency have any long-term plans for integrating this type of energy into the national energy mix?
We are supporting these kinds of projects. We are supporting Dr. Ambatali. We had several meetings na in regards to his project with JICA. And we are open to support other experts for these projects. So there's a lot of things that needs to be done kasi these types of projects or these types of technologies are really broad encompassing. So there's a lot of R&Ds and of course other sectors that needs to chip in.
Would you like to share any of PhilSA's projects that help support electrification using satellite-based technology?
As of the moment, ma'am, we have our electrification efforts. We had an MOU with the National Electrification Administration, where the idea is to use satellite-based imagery to sort of know where in the country we should focus our efforts in the electrification roadmap. So it helps in the targeting and the maintenance of the infrastructure for electricity distribution.
If everything goes according to plan, like we're talking best case scenario, would it be possible to, have SBSP in our country in about, let's say, 30 years or 50 years?
I'd say it's about 50 years. It's optimistic, actually.
I think the 50 years is very optimistic.
Yeah.
It is. Because looking at the technology right now, the things that I mentioned earlier are the really big roadblocks in terms of scalability, because you want to have, because of the money involved, you want for it to be, when it starts to give the return. So you want the technology to be competitive with the others, not to replace them, but so that the investment that you put in it actually yields return. So an estimate by NASA actually has, if I look at the numbers here, it gives us around $0.61. So that's, I think, 30 pesos per kilowatt hour. In comparison to the other technologies, which are at $0.02 per kilowatt hour. So it's the current technology. That estimate is based on the current technology that is here. So if we are able to improve the technologies involved in SBSP, for example, the increase in efficiency of the solar panels, increase productivity in terms of, or better efficiency in microwave transmission, especially through the atmosphere, and of course the manufacturing of the required technology, then we can bring that cost down. The biggest factor, I said earlier, would be the launch costs, and I think I'm optimistic that with the rise of SpaceX and other companies that wants to bring infrastructure in space, we are actually able to bring those launch costs down.
People are very optimistic about the new Falcon Heavy rocket, which is a more powerful version of SpaceX Falcon 9. So this would reduce launch costs by tenfold, I think, if I remember the numbers correctly. And this would make us a step closer to realizing not just space-based solar power, but in general, space infrastructure. So I'm thinking recycling plants in space, or larger space stations, even before space-based solar power satellite.
Cycling plants in space. Wow.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things to look
concept.
forward to. Cool.
Yes. I saw a concept of it in a conference, and they think about gathering debris and recycling materials from them, which is beneficial because it's also eliminating space debris.
So that's already solves one of the problems that Mr. Improso mentioned.
Yes.
All right. So there's a lot of things to look forward to, and let's hope that we're all still alive when it actually happens in 50 years, or maybe even less, because like you said, one of the rockets already decreased the expenses
Launch
by 10x,
costs.
the launch
I
costs
think
by 10x.
Yeah. Just at the back of my mind, but I'm not quite sure if it's 10 times. Yeah.
But that's reason to be optimistic already.
Yes.
While the full realization of space-based solar power, or SBSP, is still some decades away, technological advancements are making it increasingly feasible. Mr. Ambatali and Mr. Improso said, making the wireless power transfer technology more mature and developing new business models are needed to attract the investments that will kickstart this transformation. This has been another episode of B-Side. Subscribe now and enjoy industry insights on Philippine business and beyond.